Hello guys, so you're welcome to my channel once more. I would like to talk about something quite irritating. Yes, when I say irritating, I mean irritating to me a little bit. It's about this whole artificial intelligence rave that has been going on of recent. So actually tired about seeing so many things online, such as the scare of AGI, artificial general intelligence, the fear that AGI is going to go rogue and take over the world or enslave human or destroy our planet. I'm tired of seeing such things over and over again. I'm also tired of people misquoting um, AI engineers or people who are in the field, misquoting them to be saying that AI is dangerous and more safety precautions need to be put in certain place, or AI will do this, do that. Literally putting their words in quotes when they didn't actually say that. I see it a lot in blogs. I'm also tired of people saying that there's a black box in AI, that is a specific area that scientists don't understand. They will even say that even the AI researchers themselves, there are some aspects of AI that they don't yet understand, that it's a black box. So how are they making improvements to these models if there are certain areas that they don't understand? And I'm also tired of people giving some examples to actually substantiate their claims that AI would just all of a sudden do something out of the extraordinary, do something that was not even programmed. Even though AI means that you are not going to be directly programming into something, it does not mean that the principles of computer science is still not taking place. Even if the artificial intelligence is not directly programmed, it's still working under the principles of computer science. I would like to clarify some things. Of recent, OpenAI released the particular model towards the end of October. Was it October or November? I think towards the end of November, a new chat GPT 4.0 model. And the first thing I did was to ask it a question that I know it's always getting wrong up till now, even with the most recent updates. How many R's are in strawberry? So I'm going to attach a picture right now to show you the answer that it gave me. This was after the updates that happened in late November this year. It still doesn't know how many R's are in strawberry. This is not a popular problem. This is not something that people used to post about, so they haven't patched this yet. There's another problem that some large language models like ChatGPT 4.0 faces, like asking which number is bigger between 9.11 and 9.9. Although they have patched that, if you ask ChatGPT right now, it's going to give you the correct answer. Obviously, because this is a very popular, is a meme. It was a meme that was posted online, so the developers would definitely patch this. So all my point is, I'm not trying to undermine the power of artificial intelligence, especially generative AI, specifically large language models. I won't undermine it. Personally, I use it for a lot of my work and it helps me work faster, but I know the limitations of this AI and I know that they are not intelligent in the technical sense of it. Yes. Now imagine an AI models that cannot even state how many R's are in strawberry, despite the fact that it's in front of it. The word is in front of you and it cannot count how many R's are in AI that is in strawberry. This is to show you some inherent limitation of artificial intelligence as at now in our current development, artificial intelligence developments. The scale of AGI, artificial general intelligence, is that they feel that it will be in the same level of human intelligence. We are very, very far away from it, more than decades, if not century away from it. If you go to the actual website of some of these developers, some of these artificial intelligence developers, I'll put a link in the description below so that you can read some of the possibilities of an AI actually taking over the world, so that you understand He said that it's going to take decades or centuries for us to actually reach that point. We are very far away. Even with the ChatGPT 4.0 models that I think is very, very intelligent, it's not intelligent at all. It is not. There's nothing intelligent about an artificial intelligence. It's just a beautiful cascade of mathematical calculations. That's all that is going on in the background. Nothing more than calculations, tremendous amount, trillions of calculations that is happening in the background. If that is your definition of intelligence, then you can say AI is intelligent. If intelligence is all about making calculations and coming about a specific answer, if that is intelligence to you, then you can say AI is truly intelligence. Otherwise, I believe personally, intelligence is more than just making a lot of mathematical calculations. We humans are considered intelligent, and we don't go about making our decisions by brute calculations, pure. We don't go about making decisions of life by bringing out a paper and a pen and start calculating things, and then we decide based on the answer of our calculation. Nobody lives lives like that, and we are considered intelligent. The way a computer is intelligent is far different from a way a human is intelligent. So let me give an example. For instance, in computer vision, when you face your camera to your food and your smartphone to your food, your smartphone camera to a piece of food in front of you, it shows you that what it's looking at is food. For you to be able to do this, there are about 4 different models that are happening in the background for you to come about this conclusion. There's a convolutional layer. Yes, that's the first layer. The second layer is a filtering layer. And then there's a flattening layer, and then there's a dense layer. These are the 4 different layers that image from your phone, they will pass through before your smartphone will be able to tell you that this is food that I'm looking at. You can imagine combining 4 different models together that are all communicating from one layer to the other before it can eventually know that it is food that it is looking at and not a dog or a cat. If there's going to be an AGI, I would imagine that it would be a salad of so many different models that are working, so many imperfect models that are working together to achieve a particular goal. And it's going to be so much far from perfect. For instance, it's very difficult for an AI to distinguish, although I assume that it will get some answers right, to distinguish between a Lhasa Apso and a Shih Tzu. I'll post the picture here now to see that the difference are not very, very prominent. It's quite subtle, the difference between the two. And I would imagine it to be difficult. Sometimes some computer vision models can even mistake some dogs for cats. It's as bad as that sometimes. So we are very far away from this superhuman intelligence that we are scared of. We're very far away from it. And people do give some examples. So, for instance, when I do explain to people that there is nothing an AI is going to do that is outside the variable that has been defined by the programmer. Everything an AI does, every decision, in this particular case, I'm talking about reinforcement learning. In reinforcement learning, for instance, there's nothing. Reinforcement learning looks like the real life intelligence that we are all used to, like like a dog, like a robot dog learning how to walk, a robot dog playing football is working on the principles of reinforcement learning. There's nothing that a reinforcement learning model would do that is outside the variables that has been defined by the AI engineer. Yes, a reinforcement learning model would not do something that is outside the variables that has been defined. This is just a computer science principle. It is not possible. We have not reached that point yet. Every action, every state, that is the world that the model is found, everything has been defined within the reinforcement learning model. If you are the type that plays some games that have AI agents in it, you would understand what I'm saying. For instance, if you play this game called Farming Simulator 23, I do play it a lot. It's a very interesting game. So if I try to use an AI model to continue farming, maybe if I'm harvesting wheat on my farm, I can just click on the AI agent button and then I'll do other things in the game. Why the AI agent will keep farming for me and is going to do it perfectly clean, although sometimes it misses some spots on the farm, but it's usually perfect and the result is usually the same. This is obviously using reinforcement learning, and the reason why it's able to get it all the time is that the field is defined, the area of the field is defined, it does not change. That is, the variable is the same at every point in time, and there are only few actions that you can take, either to bring your harvester down, to move forward, to reverse, to turn. Those are the actions that can be taken in the state that has been defined. The state is the area. That is why if I'm close to my farm, if I don't move the harvester right on the field and I click on the air is not going to start. If I'm just like few inches away from the field, I won't be able to start the AI because the AI is in a state that it wasn't trained to harvest. So you taking a reinforcement learning agent away from that state that it has been trained upon, it won't be able to work. So everything that an AI does is within the variable that has been defined by the programmer. It will never go out of that variable. It will never go out of that variable, and it will not be able to perform its action outside that state that it has been trained upon. Now, there is one very interesting thing. Even within the state that it has been trained upon, an AI can deviate a little bit. So I'm going to post a little script, a little video. I'll screen record some things in this Farming Simulator 23. When I asked my an AI to deliver something from me in a particular location, I noticed that whenever it's going in a straight line, when it gets to a particular junction, it deviates to the side and then it goes back on track. And it always does that action every single time. The reason for this is that it's using reinforcement learning. During reinforcement learning, there's something we call exploration and exploitation. Yes. So exploration is when the AI is still trying to figure out the so I was talking about exploration. I was talking about exploration and exploitation. So explorations are just random actions that an AI agent makes in its state. When I say state, I mean the word that the AI is learning, where the AI agent learns from. So that's what exploration is. It just means taking random actions in its word and then getting feedback for every action that it takes, either positive reinforcement or negative reinforcements. For every action you take in a particular state, you get a feedback for it. Those feedbacks are just numbers. It will either add to overall number or reduce from it. So that's how it learns to know what action to favor by taking the action that has the highest number there after it has been trained. But from the start, it's just taking random actions. So throughout its training, it keeps taking different random actions and then it gets feedback from it. For instance, if I'm harvesting now, if the AI is being trained how to harvest wheat on a farm, on a particular area of farmland, if the while the harvesting is going on, if the AI decides to like deviate to the left, it's going to get a negative feedback for that. But if it maintains a straight line, it keeps getting a positive feedback for that, positive feedback for that. So it learns to maintain a straight line while harvesting. So while I made an example that if I should send an AI agent on an errand to drop a particular load in one particular location, anytime it's moving in a straight line, it will just deviate. Once it reaches a junction, it deviates away from that straight line and then it goes forward and then turns back to continue on that straight path. It was because during his training, it made a lot of exploration at that point before deciding to go back, and it has already learned to always take that path. Yes, unless the training starts all over again, that is going to take that is going to be off the limit. Now, there's one thing I would like to mention. If an AI was trained in a state, or if it was trained in a world where there are no moving objects, That is that is the reality of that AI. There are no moving objects in its world. So if it encounters a moving object after it has been trained, if it encounters a moving object in its own world, it's not going to know what to do. It will just keep trying to move, and then there is no movement taking place, and then it's no longer getting any feedback for that because it was not trained for a object obstructing it on the road. So it's not going to know what to do. It wouldn't know that it's supposed to turn and then leave the path that is blocking it. It's not going to learn that unless during it. So you see how new situations actually throws problem at an AI. Just because the AI wasn't trained in a world where they are moving objects, if it is placed in a similar or an identical world, and the only difference is that they are moving objects, that AI would not be able to interact with other moving objects in that same identical world. So every variable needs to be accounted for before an AI can make good decisions in that world. Otherwise, it's going to be stuck in a loop until you train it again. Now, the concept of AI learning in real time, the concept of AI learning as it's encountering things, this it's not even going to be practical. Yes, because while it is learning, while it's still trying to learn, it's going to take thousands of iterations of training for it to actually realize that okay, it's supposed to turn left in a particular way and then keep going forward and not just keep turning left and keep going in another direction, because that could also happen. They are not humans. They are not even animals that would know just a simple turning and then turning again on your path would solve the problem. To take thousands of iterations before the AI will realize something as simple as that, something that is so simple to you, it's not going to be as simple to an AI. So every variable needs to be defined by the programmer. Every variable needs to be defined by the programmer in every state. And the more variables we have, like the moving objects in the world, the more difficult, the more big, huge the number of trainings that is required, the number of variables that need to be considered, even the laws, the physical laws that applies within the real life. It needs to be simulated in the training environment of that AI before it's actually brought into the real world. Because training an AI in the real world is very expensive, because you keep running out of battery, you keep getting your robots damaged while you are training it, and that will be very expensive. So they usually do this in the virtual world. They do all this training in the virtual world. They try to simulate the real world as much as possible, to actually count for all the physical laws that is applying, the friction, the gravity, everything, the momentum, the acceleration, the velocity, everything, the torque of the turning, and everything needs to be accounted for, and it needs to be programmed. So this is much more complicated than I think it is. The simple task that we do every day is much more complicated if you are trying to teach an AI how to do it, or try to teach a robot how to do it. It's much more complicated than you thought. The simple act of a dog walking requires a lot of variables needs to be put into place just to make this simple act of walking to happen. And it's the training doesn't take place in the real world because that will be very expensive. It has to take place in the virtual world, and in the virtual world it cannot be compared to the real world. It can just be close, as similar, can just be like maybe 75% similar to the real world, and that's the reason why it will be extremely difficult. We are far, far away from an AI taking over the world. And one example that one of my friends gave me to actually substantiate his point that an AI would just magically bring up a variable that wasn't defined was in neural architectural search. Neural architectural search just means that a collection of neural architecture, and then it starts selecting it one after the other to find the best architecture for a particular problem you're trying to solve. It's just a way for developers to quickly make a solutions without starting from the scratch. Yes, They make a solution without starting from scratch. It does not mean that the AI is going to do this by himself. It does not mean that the AI will instantaneously do this or simultaneously do this on its own without an AI engineer actually doing it. It doesn't work that way. The way people imagined it, the way the media has been telling us, that is not the way it works. Everything needs to be defined. Everything that happens, the engineer knows the possibility of it happening. Nothing takes that engineer by surprise. That is what the media has been pushing, that something is going to happen and the AI will surprise us. There's nothing the AI is going to do that will surprise the engineer. Everything the AI does, the engineer is aware of the possibility of it happening and he knows how possible that is, because it's all calculations. Everything is down to the science. There's a science for everything. There's no magic taking place. If you want to learn more about AI, I'll suggest you use the Microsoft Learn Fundamentals of AI. I'll put the link in the description below, or you can also use the Brilliant app. The Microsoft Learn is actually free. Anybody can use it. You can read as much as you want on it. They give you the fundamentals, what you need to know, so you can have a good understanding and not rely on the media telling you that AI is dangerous just because they're trying to drive traffic. You can also use Brilliant app too. There are a lot of features there you can use for free. And to access the full course, you need to make a payment for that. You can learn all about AI on that. You would see that most of these things are not as difficult as they make it to seem. They use a lot of big words. Just those are little. They use a lot of buzzwords to make people interested in listening, to sound bigger than it is. Most of these things are not a big deal, and anyone can actually learn it. I'll see you again in my next series. I hope you enjoyed this video.